landlord. Interest rates are going up on my mortgages. How am I going to make my buy-to-let portfolio profitable? Should I put my rents up? Welcome to Property Investing with Abi. Today we're going to look at the impact of mortgage interest rates going up and what you should do about it as a landlord. First thing we need to remember right now is we are in a UK housing crisis. Since the 1970s, the amount of new build homes that are being built to cope with us growing as a nation has been going down, and the government have not hit one of their new build targets at all. Since the 1970s, our population has gone up by roughly 8 million people. Yikes. So that's a lot of people living in the UK, and we don't have enough houses, and we've known this for years. As a landlord, you own a property portfolio. If you're on variable, you will have seen the news. Bank of England's put interest rates up. A lot of mortgage lenders are putting their interest rates up, and that's going to impact you. I review rents once a year, and my rents normally go up with inflation. Now, that's not because I'm a bad, greedy landlord, for those of you out there. It's just everything goes up in price, and I still need to maintain the property you're in. And I need to make it profitable for me to still run it as well, to provide the homes that I provide. Asda, the cost of milk's gone up. Asda's had to put the price up. Asda's not taking the hit because Asda still needs to run a profitable business. You're the same if you're providing homes to people. Some landlords go to the extreme, and whack huge rent increases, and that's not what I'm saying. Doing it with inflation is a good idea because it's very fair and consistent. I always make sure that I'm not the most expensive property in the area, or I've not done something stupid like my property's £500 more expensive than the one down the road. It has to be fair and consistent with the market area you're in, and the general rule of thumb is inflation. So from last June to this June, rents have risen by 13.4%. They're on the rise and rents are stronger than ever. Now, inflation went up 9.4%. So in June, if you were looking at your portfolio, it would have been fair for you to put it up by 9.4%, and you're still not at the national average of 13.4%. So what I would suggest that the average landlord does right now is have a look when this impact to your mortgages is going to be, what you need to do, and whether you can increase the rent. So a lot of landlords I speak to, especially those that aren't educated in being a property investor, they leave the tenant in there for years and years and never increase the rent because they feel like a bad landlord. And again, I would argue, if you're not increasing the rents, how are you maintaining that property? How are you keeping it up to the right standard when it needs a new bathroom, new kitchen? You have to do this to make sure that home is fit to live in. Now, to increase rents, it depends what tenancy agreement your tenant's on. If they're on a variable contract, so they're rolling weekly or monthly, then you can only raise rents once a year, and you would issue a Section 13 to do that. Now, if they're on a fixed, so they sign a fixed tenancy for 6 months or 1 year, you do it at the end of the fixed. So you give notice during the fix that at this 6 month point, I'm going to raise the rent, or at this 1 year point, I'm going to raise the rent. If my tenant said to me, yeah, I understand it needs to be raised, Abby, that's a little bit out, can I reduce it by £50, or can I start in a few months' time? If they're a good tenant and they've looked after my property, I'm going to support them. Over the last 50 years, on average, interest rates have been 9%. Now, we've had it since about 2008, 2009. We've had really good interest rates, so we've been in sort of a false economy, and the average is 9%. Now, a lot of hype in the media that it's going to go up to 6% interest rate. If you owe $200,000 on your property and you're interest only, your mortgage payments are going to go to about £1,000 on a 6% interest only. Now, there is a lot of mortgages out there, and there is still 4% mortgages out there, so I wouldn't necessarily panic. Get a mortgage broker and help them look at things and get you a good mortgage if you are on a variable or if you're coming out of a fixed term. And then for you tenants, if you're really not happy about your landlord raising your rents, or you do have the perception of greedy landlords, which isn't really fair, because if the government didn't have all of us property investors putting out all these homes, there'd be so much less buy-to-let stock. Get out of renting, go and buy your own property. It's going to be much cheaper for you, you'll have a better mortgage, but go and push yourself. And if you don't know where to start, if nobody's ever showed you how you can, make some real money, how you can get out of being rented, then I want you to do our Wealth Appraisal, which I'll pop the link in the comments, but that's the first place to start. And then for anybody else thinking, actually now's a great time to be a property investor, it's good to get in now, click on and start and do our wealth appraisal. There has never been a better time to be a property investor. Over the last 5 years where I've started in the hardest times. Cheap mortgages, houses going for silly prices. Now is a great time. You're gonna be able to really benefit from getting some great properties. You're gonna have a lot of landlords check out and go, do you know what, fed up with this, I'm gonna sell. So you can get some great properties. It's gonna be a buyer's market. There's never been a better time. So that's all we've got time for today's episode, but I will see you on next time with Property Investing with Abi.